Hey everyone, welcome to Neighbor Science, the only podcast about political economy and anime. Off to a great start here. We are here to find out whether pirates are canceled and whether Chopper from One Piece is baby. It is episode 420, and just to get it out of the way, we're not doing any of that immature shit for this episode, you know, like pointing out the episode number or saying like nice or like doing bong rips on mic or anything. We're not that kind of podcast. So just none of us are stoned. So we're just talking about pirates today. That's it.
Yep. Pirates, famously law-abiding people.
Yeah. And, you know, they're well known for their association with the number 420, I think. So that's why we picked it as the topic.
Yeah, the 420 Roger.
Yes.
The skull in 420.
That's why he was so jolly.
Yeah, right. The crossbones on the flag are actually, joint
Yes.
pieces,
Yeah.
So it's,
that's what they symbolize anyway.
Right.
Because, you know, they're like, they have joints
like
on the
little,
end of them. So,
exactly. Makes sense.
So we're talking about pirates and privateers because you can't really talk about one without talking about the other.
Right.
There's a lot of like intermingling.
It's like
and
Democrats and Republicans.
Yes.
But yeah.
So we'll start with privateers because we already know that they're bad. They suck. They also were one of the most common types of like troop, basically, back in the day. So the name privateer means private man of war. It was that the actual name is coined in the 1660s. But those privateers existed for long before that. I mean, like prior to the 20th century, the majority of naval ships were privateers.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Yeah, for much of the colonial era. Yeah. One of France's naval heroes, Jean Bart, was actually a privateer who captured nearly 400 ships from the English and Dutch. So they were...
Eat your heart out, Ash Ketchum. Think of privateers as military contractors like Halliburton or something, but they acted as a proxy force against their clients' rivals, and they committed aggression primarily on maritime trade routes and things.
Right. Okay.
So it was kind of like a economic proxy war, but with military power and
in private hands.
In private hands,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's the typical unholy alliance between a kind of a business interest and a state force interest.
Right. So privateers got letters of marque that were issued to them by their government, which allowed them to freely cross borders and attack vessels of anyone the issuing country is at war with. So if French privateer got a letter of marque
to kill.
Yeah. So if a French privateer got a letter of marque and France was at war with the Dutch, then I can't remember the fucking name of their country. They could attack their ships and capture their cargo, and so they would bring the cargo to a court and like say like, oh yeah, I got this off of this ship, and then the cargo would be legally theirs. They would just have to pay like a court fee or something.
Right.
They were bound by certain rules. There was such a thing as illegal cruelty. Although some of them broke that rule fairly regularly, and I'm sure it only applied to Europeans.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Or Christians, rather.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Not non-Catholic Christians.
I was just going to say white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, maybe?
Yes. So, and one really strange part of this illegal cruelty thing and the being bound by rules thing is like during the War of 1812, English captives would publish thank you notes to the privateers that captured them in New England newspapers.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Very strange. That comes from a book about like specifically about New England pirates. Okay. And another thing that I got from there is the privateers in New England were extremely well fed. So their food allowances included nearly 9 pounds of meat per week.
Damn.
Which, if you compare it to the notoriously carnivorous American diet, we're currently at a record high of 4.25 pounds of meat per week.
Yeah.
Which, like, 9 pounds of meat a week is basically 5.5 burgers a day. So they're basically Randy from Trailer Park Boys.
Way more than you hear about people eating at the time, and
Right.
also way more than most sedentary people need.
Yeah.
So, like, either they were like big hunky dudes, or they were just like getting gout.
Big belly guys with no shirts on and with white pants.
Right. Yeah. Just imagine the farts on that ship. Just, oh my god.
Some pirates come and try and capture a privateer ship, and they're like, "Frig off, pirates!" Wow, this really is episode 420. Damn.
Yeah.
So another thing, just before we start on pirates, is like privateers were like modern, like state workers. Under an authoritarian regime. Mm-hmm. They got paid way less than the captain of the ship, who made I forget what the figure is. I'll get to it later, but I think it's like 50 to 800 times what they would make. Yeah. Some crazy like that.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, like higher than the level of inequality between like a Japanese worker and a Japanese CEO by like a long shot. Okay, so that's the context that we start in. And a lot of pirates came from privateer vessels, which makes sense,
Yeah.
So pirates, obviously, can refer to any shipboard raider at any era of history, but what we're kind of focusing on is the golden age of piracy in the Caribbean, which was the late 17th and early 18th century. And it was mostly in the Caribbean, but it was also Europe and Africa as well.
Yeah.
So... let's see. Let's start with the Barbary pirates, since that's like where it all started, kind of. So yeah, the Barbary pirates. I'm hoping you know something about them because I didn't take down a whole lot of notes. But basically, they were North African. They started by raiding European vessels as early as the 10th century, and they would take captives and ransom them. And it actually became pretty common practice after the Ottoman Empire expanded, to the point where like churches were used to holding like fundraisers to like to raise the ransom for their church members.
Yikes!
Because they got captured by pirates.
Yeah. So as I recall, because I don't know a ton about the Barbary pirates, but I have some understanding of like the Ottoman versus sort of Christian Europe conflict over the Mediterranean and the ports there. So let's see. The Mediterranean, of course, as we've discussed in like the episode on the Phoenicians, is this basically gigantic maritime road between all these different ports and then
two continents
by extension all these land routes and cities and everything. The Ottoman Empire was this incredibly powerful, kind of sophisticated empire that was remarkably effective and very scary for Europeans to think about, essentially, and kept them kind of locked to the coast after a certain era. I think after like antiquity.
So like they weren't crossing the Mediterranean.
I can't remember exactly. I mean, because if you think about like, there's like Muslim Spain.
I was just trying to figure out what you meant by locked to the coast.
Oh yeah. So the Europeans couldn't really go too far from.
Okay.
Yeah, as I recall. And so
Boat's
they're like
too good.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mr. Two-Damn Boat.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know.
So like, let's see. So the Europeans are trying to like trade port to port, and of course the Italians are in that mix. And I think the Greeks were within the Ottoman Empire for a long, long time. So coastal southern Europe was pretty limited in its ability to trade between sort of themselves. And then I don't remember the extent to which they were trading with the Ottomans throughout the years, and I'm sure that it ebbed and flowed if there was much trade at all. But basically all this like kind of Muslim versus Christian and like Ottoman versus European kind of rivalry and tension and fear and all that sort of stimulated this violent middleman of piracy vis-a-vis like the Barbary pirates. And as I skimmed like the Wikipedia on them, there was some kind of pretext on the part of the pirates of jihad against Christians.
Uh-huh.
So then they would use that as
Coming
an
to
excuse.
Europe to institute Sharia law, etc.
Yeah, right. They would
That type
excuse. right. Yeah. Illuminati, all that shit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but no, they would apparently use that as a pretext to essentially capture European ships, then take those captives, sell them as slaves to the Ottomans, because the Ottoman was a slave-heavy empire.
Yeah.
Like, the Ottomans loved...
Those motherfuckers loved having slaves.
They just loved having slaves, yeah. And, like, the Janissaries were an example of, I think it was slaves from Christian families that were taken from, like, southeastern Europe, the Caucasus, things like that.
Yeah.
And then they were brought into the kind of Ottoman core, turned into these kind of military dudes, and then sent back out to administer the empire.
Okay.
And things like that. So, whereas, like, I think that the captures of the Barbary pirates sold off into slavery were probably more just, like, your average, like, house slave and shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's the little I know of that. But, of course, the Europeans fucking hated it because, you know, it's scary as shit.
Yeah.
So the Barbary pirates, during that, you know, few hundred years or so, were kind of notorious and like a big boogeyman, you know.
Okay. Yeah. So one estimate on the slaving thing for Barbary pirates, it's very disputed. So it's probably like some super Christian guy that's like trying to say how bad the Muslims are. But,
Right.
the estimate is 1 million European slaves taken over a 300-year period. Which,
Damn.
Like,
That's
it's probably, you know, like a small fraction of that, really, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like 1 million over 300 years. That's like 3,000 a year, right? Roughly.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So like, I mean,
That's pretty reasonable.
I think that's pretty reasonable. Although, like, 3,000 captives per year. Let's say that's in like. It's like 10 different port cities or 10 different ships, say. That's 300 per ship per year. Okay. I could see maybe that's feasible.
Probably a couple.
Yeah.
Because
I
they
mean,
probably
give
didn't
or
have ships
take,
that had
though,
300 people on them.
Yeah.
Probably.
Like, objectively, this is a terrible, terrible thing. But also, like, 1 million over 300 years, I mean, that is probably far fewer than, like, died of smallpox or something.
Yes.
You know, like, whatever it is.
Way
going
less
around.
than the transatlantic slave trade.
Oh,
Not even
Jesus.
close.
Yeah, don't even get me started.
Yeah. Because that's actually a real number, too. It's not just made up.
Very quantifiable. Yeah.
One other thing about the Barbary pirates is the classic pirate eye patch worn by famous pirates like Senator Dan Crenshaw is likely to have come from one of the most notorious Barbary pirates. I'm going to probably butcher this pronunciation, but Rahma ibn Jabir al-Jahami. Jalhami?
Okay.
Yeah. He
So it's
was
kind of like a trademark.
He seems like kind of the prototype for the pirate appearance because like he had a very fearsome appearance because he had a lot of scars. He was like I think he was very violent if I remember what I read correctly. I think he was missing a hand as well, and he's missing an eye, and
Jesus.
all the like illustrations of him have him like in a, I don't know what you would call it, but it's like a burqa looking thing. It's like full veil.
Like a robe, basically.
Yeah. But it like with his head covered as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And yeah.
Maybe he's just, like, shy about his nose or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess with that many scars, you got to be either really violent or really clumsy.
And I think the Barbary pirates continued working until like the 18th or 19th century, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, they were still around in some form in, like, I think the 1800s.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was actually, it might have been Napoleon or one of his guys who finally kind of, like, pushed them off the map.
Huh. Okay.
Listeners, just Google it yourself.
Yeah. We'll just say that's what happened.
Yeah, I don't want to give Napoleon more credit than he already has for all this crazy shit he's done. Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to the Golden Age of Pirates with the Caribbean guys.
The sea folks.
Yeah. I wish I organized this better. So I read this book called Life Under the Jolly Roger, which is actually written by an anarchist. I think he's an anarchist. He cites David Graeber in the book.
Okay.
And calls him out as like an anarchist anthropologist. So like he's not shy about it at all.
Yeah.
And so he basically was trying to sum up all the literature on pirates and see like what type of people were they? Were they like kind of radicals? Were they problematic? Were they, I hate that fucking word, were they like oppressive,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Right. Did they have like a class consciousness or not? Did
Yes.
they have like a right?
Yeah, and it's basically like an ethnographic study because he's comparing it all out to other non-state people.
Okay.
Oh, and there's also sometimes I'll refer to buccaneers, which they're very similar. I don't actually remember what the difference is, but the name buccaneer comes from a buccan, which is like a wooden frame that you build over a fire to smoke meat. And so
okay.
that's how they mainly survived food-wise, was they would hunt, smoke meat, or fish, smoked fish, and that would preserve it. And yeah. And they also they had a couple other practices like they slept in hammocks to stay off the ground, and and they made what's it called, dugout canoes, which are
Nice.
basically you fell a tree with using fire. So they would, it was actually really cool, they would paint the bottom of the tree with something like mud and stuff, basically to prevent that part from burning. Right. They would set it on fire, and then they would like dig or whack at it while it was burning to like cut it out.
Right.
And then it would fall down, and then they would do the same thing on the top. They would do like small burns across the top surface, and they would dig it out because it's really hard to dig like a live tree.
Right. Yep.
And
so they would kind of use two different techniques at the same time, burning and digging, or sort of chopping, digging.
Yeah, and it took like a whole team of people to do, obviously. And I think
once you got it,
I think it would fit like 15 or 30 people, depending on the size. Yeah,
full crew.
Yes. So okay, so pirates were actually, I mean, they were non-state people because they were living outside the law. But there are people who live outside the law that aren't really non-state people, like the mafia.
Right.
They are very within the state.
Right. They're sort of parasitical.
Yeah, they're doing crimes, but they're like hooked into the legal system. Like they capture the police, they capture the courts, and so on. And like they're based within a state society.
Right.
But pirates
kind of
were
parastate.
Pirates were mostly outside of it. They were in like state lands a lot of the time, like when they were on land. But when they were at sea, they were just outside of any state. They didn't answer to anyone. And so they the author, I wish I had his name at hand, but so we're having organizational issues. So I'm just gonna, I might repeat myself a little bit, but I'm gonna start up again. So pirates, they were usually quite egalitarian, especially compared to privateers. But even compared to like any organization today, just about. So captains were appointed by vote, usually judged on merit, like ability to think strategically and in combat and stuff like that, and their ability to like motivate people.
So kind of like a proper syndicate or commune.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, you get this role because you're like worth it and we trust you, as opposed to because like your daddy slaughtered a bunch of brown people and got their money.
Yeah. So we have Senator Dan Crenshaw on the line. Actually.
Oh yeah, welcome, Senator.
Hey, are you guys recording?
Yeah. So how are things in the Capitol building, Mr. Crenshaw?
They be getting me.
Hell yeah, dude.
Was he a Navy SEAL by chance?
I think he was. Yeah.
All right, so they kind of have a thing with that, especially the U.S. Navy.
Where they dress up in frilly collars and tricorn hats and raid ships.
Don't forget the bell bottoms. Yes.
Oh yeah, the bell bottoms. Yes.
The U.S. Navy was founded under piracy. I think our first
that's right.
4 ships were pirated, maybe 7. And in the 90s, I try to reference it for the notes. I couldn't find anything because of all this stuff that's going on with Iran right now, supposedly. But the U.S. Navy boarded some Iranian vessel in the 90s, and Iran took it to the United Nations and declared that the U.S. Navy were a band of pirates, and if we ever boarded another one of their vessels again, it was a declaration of war. So some of the teams will rock a Jolly Roger every now and then to, I don't know what the
Steal
word
valor.
you would use.
Yeah, still valid, yes.
Still valor and instigate, I suppose.
Right.
And my take on pirates and stuff is kind of like 50-50. Could be good, could be bad.
Yeah.
Cancel them. Sometimes it's good practice, guys.
Right. Exactly. You know, the 5-finger Jolly Roger discount.
Well, it's very interesting, Mr. Crenshaw, to hear you talk like this when you've been really supportive of the concentration camps at the border, and your Twitter is just a lot different than this. So I'm kind of surprised to hear this kind of rhetoric from you.
Pirates be pro-slavery, though, matey, as long as it makes your booty, Worst pirate voice ever. There's another guy I found. Oh, the guy that's in charge of the Oath Keepers. Cool eye patch also. So if you see him on Twitter, go ahead and give him a full fucking master R.
If these guys were real badasses, they would go for the double eye patch. Then we'd know they were serious about freedom.
The offer is open if they would like the double eye patch.
Yeah, we have a company that we can use. We'll just hire some guys, and they're licensed, I think, probably to do that kind of thing. It probably won't be too painful. We do not have any anestheticians, so they will feel every bit of it.
If you're a real pirate, you don't really care about licensing.
We can give you an aspirin.
Right.
Those are the privateers that care about the licensing.
That's right.
That's true.
And that's optional.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah.
I missed that. That's optional. Sometimes you're not doing. You're just not making it. So sometimes you gotta privateer your own country's stuff.
Fake it till you make it. Rise and grind.
That's right.
I'm just imagining a bunch of maritime cops pulling over a privateer. Their lights are flashing and everything, and they're like, "Excuse me, do you know how fast you were stealing?" And the privateer's like, "What's going on, officer?" And they're like, "I'm just gonna need to see your license to kill and registration." Yeah. They surrender, and it's like, "Oh, it looks like you've got a few hundred murders under your belt." Yeah, well, your tags are expired.
The smart pirates or privateers always brought fakes with them, though.
Yeah,
that's another thing. If you're not rolling around with a bunch of different flags and fake paperwork, you're not really playing.
Right. It's like, what are you doing?
Sir, you were sailing at a high rate of velocity. Are you aware of how many knots you were going?
Your knots are past 10. What are you doing?
Speed limit here is actually 15 knots, and you are going 17 knots. So I'm gonna have to write you a ticket.
Right.
I was on a boat in the Navy. It took 4 days longer than the Mayflower across the Atlantic.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Nightmare. If you had to go anywhere.
Well, to be fair, it was probably a little bit heavier than the Mayflower was.
Yeah, it's complicated. That's not the episode for it. It was just some bad engineering. They heavy lift them in this huge ship, and they can put 2 of them on one ship and take it somewhere faster.
I see.
Okay.
So
crazy.
Boat. We heard you like to boat, so we put a boat on your boat, so you can boat while you boat.
Boaty McBoat loves that boat.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, Bodie McBoatface. Was that-
Yeah.
What was that
Bodie
the name of
McBoatface.
again? Was it a train or something?
That was
It was a British
yacht or something.
Yeah, they let
A
them
yacht.
vote on it.
That's right.
and the
Never let the
fools
internet
put it to
never
a
let
vote.
the internet make the decision for you.
Yeah.
It will
Bodie
not
I'm
be
going to
good.
Bodie McVoteface. It's going to be called Bodie McVoteface.
A nearly lost piece of culture.
I love that vote.
A true legend.
Have y'all talked about modern piracy?
No, we thought
Working our way
we
through
thought we'd get to that at the
origins.
end.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're in
since
the
that's
middle.
what you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
our SME today.
We're talking about how pirates are sort of anarchist at this point. We're talking about Life Under the Jolly Roger, which you said you
Okay.
read.
No, I read Under the Black Flag.
Oh, okay.
right.
If
okay.
this topic interests you, I highly suggest you get a copy of that, or be a pirate. Steal a copy of that, preferably.
Yes.
Yeah, go to LibGen.
That's right.
Yeah.
But how can I steal a copy if I don't have a ship of my own? Yeah.
The internet is a sea, and your computer or cell phone is a ship, my friend.
My God, man. This is
Whoa,
poetry.
my mind.
The information
mind just
super ocean liner.
That's right.
The information maritime silk trade route or something. I don't know.
Actually, that's a pretty good metaphor for what the internet is now.
Yeah.
It's just a big giant cruise ship. You're
Yep.
stuck on it's like one brand owns everything.
Right.
Carnival. There's gambling. You can get a bunch of food. You can like watch shows, and
Yep.
you can just sit there and do nothing. And that's about what the internet is now.
Yep.
States can't control it, but you can get around it. Thank you, VPN.
So
It's vessel of pirates. Neighbor science. I don't know.
Speaking of pirates,
Yeah, right.
great segue there, huh?
Yeah, hey.
Pirates were anti-work. So I'm quoting here from that Life Under the Jolly Roger book. And this is a sub-quote from something else. I don't know what the fuck it's from. The daily routine on a pirate ship was considerably easier than life on a merchantman vessel because the crew were not driven by owners and captains to make the fastest possible passage with the biggest possible cargo, and because the pirates operated with very much larger crews. The typical crew of a merchantman of 100 tons was around 12 men. A pirate ship of a similar size would frequently have a crew of 80 or more.
Damn.
Contemporaneous accounts seem to confirm the buccaneers and pirates' lack of enthusiasm for work. Ex-Kemlin wrote about the buccaneers that so long as they had cash to spend, it was difficult to persuade them to sea. While Père Labat, a priest who sailed with the filibustiers on their raids into the South Sea, attributed their preference for the use of barks or sloops, vessels with a simple sail rig that called for a minimum of seamanship, to a dislike of work in the first place. So, they basically... the main reason they stole was because they didn't want to work on a vessel where they would be treated like shit, probably beaten, not paid very well, and just doing, someone's bidding 24/7. And so they would, raid a ship, get a ton of money, and then they would go to some port and drink all their money away until they didn't have any more, and then they would go out and raid another ship. And that was basically their life.
I got 2 notes on that.
Okay.
One, if you worked on like a regular merchant vessel back in the day, and say you were like on a Spanish vessel and the British Navy came across it and you're at war, you would get press ganged in the British Navy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the
Okay.
pressing.
So, perk of being a pirate, you're basically a sailor in this day and age. You're predominantly fucked into one of the worst jobs you can have that pays the best.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also become a member of another state's navy where they will eventually kill you. The bosun will beat you to death for whatever reasons. And there's like a plethora of punishments aboard these ships that they would give you.
Awful, right?
Isn't that where the Cat of Nine Tails came from?
Cat of Nine Tails is amazing. My favorite is the
Very
Star
good.
Knot. Yeah.
The what now?
The Star Knot is like a rope that's made out of 5 strands, and you tie it into like a 5-point star. Cat of nine tails is lashings. It will slice and cut your back and your skin apart and everything. The star knot will just break your bones.
Oof.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's
So
looking
they'll
pretty
put you-
dense there.
yeah, they'll have like on like a British boat or a Spanish like the naval. They'll have like stockades on them
Yeah.
sometimes, which is just like, oh, what the fuck, man? They'll put you in the stockades and whip you to death,
Right.
keel haul you, hang you off the yard arm. Walking the plank, not really a thing. They didn't really walk the plank so much because then you'd lose a guy. But if you just whipped him into slavery, you can still use him and keep him in your jail cell or whatever, and bring him out when you need like slave labor or whatever, or just beat the crap out of him and sell him to somebody.
Yeah.
Pretty horrible life. I don't
I don't know. I think it sounds pretty good because if you work hard enough, you can become a captain,
Right.
and then
No.
and then you'll be the one tying people to the yard arm.
Right. Well, if you're a pirate, you don't have to worry about any of that shit because you're rolling a ship that's supposed to have like 15, 20 guys in it, and you're 80 deep.
But then you would
No
have
one's
to
gonna-
break the law.
Well, you would have to break the
So,
law. Yeah.
I don't know. I think you should probably just be a sailor.
I mean, I suppose, but I'm a sailor now.
Keep
And
your
I'll tell
nose
you what,
clean.
I'd rather be a pirate, but not really, because I know what modern pirates are, and I'm good with that. I kind of like what I do. I don't have to worry about the press gang anymore, but it's still pretty treacherous and horrible.
Well, it's probably a matter of time at this point before they start doing that.
Well, I'm not saying
If they start a war with
waiting for
Iran,
that.
I think we're gonna have press gang type stuff coming
Oh yeah,
down the pipe.
yeah. Look,
I'm going to move
glad
to Canada to escape this horrible fate. Yeah, sure.
I'm glad I'm a Gen Xer, and they're not going to do that to me. But you never know.
Yeah, good thing there's a really good country above us that doesn't ever do anything bad and doesn't have nationalists or anything like that.
And never participates in wars.
Yeah, we can escape nationalism by going to Canada because
Oh,
you
I
know,
thought
the
you were
51st
talking about
state.
the Arctic. That's not a nation.
Yeah, right.
Whoops. All right,
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's a little bonus, like
Yeah,
the
no, that's
press
good.
gangs and
That's good.
stuff.
So, yeah, okay. So I wrote here: state societies succeed because they force people to do way more work than they want to do, which obviously is why pirates existed, is because they were being forced to labor and they didn't want to do that. And
What the fuck? Yeah.
and states fail because the vast majority of their servants are unwilling, which is, I kind of wondered if like one of the key aspects of capitalism is kind of figuring out that perfect line where, as long as you don't cross that line, you won't have the revolution on your hands.
And also creating confusion about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough to keep people going.
Right.
Not too much work, but just enough to make it happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let's see. Most buccaneers and pirates were not ambitious or greedy. They were legendary for spending everything they got in days, sometimes spending 2,000 to 3,000 pieces of 8 in one night.
Jesus.
And I was trying to find like what an average shipman's wage would be in terms of pieces of 8. And I couldn't find that, but I did find that like some captain saved for like a long time and got saved up like 800 pieces of 8 after like years.
Wow.
So that's like a ton of money that they were spending.
Damn.
Sailors
They didn't even
still
try to
do
put it
that
in
to
their
this day.
401k.
Okay.
That's a sailor's savings plan to this day.
I'm putting it in me pension.
We still kind of do that. That song, "What Do You Do with a Drunken Sailor?" is kind of that still goes on. Merchant mariners go out for like 6 months and they make like their yearly wage in like 6 months, so they come back
Oh, right. Yep.
and like you can take 6 months off and like relax, or you can just get completely
Obliterated.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
There's
flattened.
a plethora of choices. That's my word
Right.
for the day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Three Amigos. It's a different podcast. Thank you so much for that word. And yeah, there's so many different ways to describe how fucked up I saw a guy. We came back, went to the bar. He kicked all the windows out of his car, high on meth. It was fucking awesome. The next day, I had to go. I had to go do my physical, and he was in there getting drug tested. He was a supervisor, fired.
Damn.
Amazing.
Wow.
You know, the cops came.
Wow.
You know, holy
That
shit.
happens when you're in a public place, kicking out all the windows of your own car.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just like, oh, you have enough meth in your blood that we can arrest you for it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't pretty either. I kind of walked outside when it happened, went back inside.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, man, check this picture out." Handed me his flip cell phone with like buttons on it, because that was how long ago this was, and was like, "Do you have clean pee?" And I just looked at him and said, "Hell no." 'Cause I really didn't. I just dumped all my fake pee for the day, so I was good.
Right.
And I didn't
Damn.
really ever want to work with that son of a bitch again either. So
Yeah,
I'm
there you
sorry.
go. Easy
Sorry,
out.
man. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry,
Kids,
guys.
do not do meth until you're
Don't do
25.
meth. At least.
Yeah.
You want to make sure your teeth come in properly and stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Need a fully developed brain
Yeah. That
so you can destroy it from its point of full development. You don't want
Yeah,
to
but-
start, you don't want to start damaging your car before you roll it off the lot.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. You got to have the whole thing going for you. Yeah.
You don't want to start.
You got to
looking
stay
like,
clever enough to keep the meth going longer. Yeah.
You don't want to look like you're 60 until you're at least 28.
Right.
Yeah.
Although, okay, here's a new theory. Okay, contrarian corner here. What if you should do drugs when you're younger because your brain has a higher neuroplasticity, and so it can like repair any damage
Bounce
that you do
back.
to it?
Fuck
You know,
it, dude.
I don't know.
So you just stop doing drugs when you're like 20, 24.
Right. Famous child addicts able to stop when they're 24.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think on that one I agree, but you got to pick your poison smartly,
Right.
because there's some stuff that will put you somewhere, and it will choose your poison and choose amount and consistency. You got to come into
Start
this
doing
being
acid when you're
smart.
10 so you can see Mushi.
I mean, yeah, that one I'm okay with that. But like,
It's harmless.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little weird. It probably makes you a little uptight when you're older.
Right.
You're like a really high-strung guy, and you got some weird PTSD from absolutely nothing, and when you're loud sounds, you're like freaking out and stuff.
I don't know. I can't think of a single person that we all know that did acid when they were 12 and is really high strung now.
I don't really know. No, I can't. I got to take that back. I know some kids that were probably like 13 or 14 that dropped acid, and they're not doing well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately,
Who is?
if you're going to
Who
be
is
like
doing
that,
well?
you got to become a pirate in order to sustain that lifestyle. That's what
Yeah,
happened with
hard.
Keith Richards, and he made a movie series about it. So,
I mean, he wears all the bandanas and stuff too. Keith Richards, definitely a pirate, matey.
What do you do as stoned Keith Richards?
What do you do with I sing that song. That's one of my go-tos. What do you do with the drunken Keith Richards? You
as
party,
you're
man.
like
You
aggressively
just-
flossing your teeth so you keep them all.
Hopefully he shares.
Yeah.
I think he does.
So speaking of
Seems
Keith
cool.
Richards, pirates often did wear flashy, elaborate clothes because there were actually laws against lower class people wearing upper class clothes. Like in Massachusetts Bay, they're called sumptuary laws,
Yeah.
and it basically depended on like people snitching on each other. Like if you see someone who looks poor or who you think it must be poor, but they're wearing like too much lace, then report them to the authorities, and then they'll be fined like 90 shillings.
Yeah.
That woman had a
sumptuary laws are
corset.
super fucked up.
That woman had a corset on, and she's not allowed to have that.
Right. You're too poor to look good. It's basically.
Do you know anything about the sartorial codes you mentioned?
It was essentially like sumptuary laws. I think like
I tried to look it up. but I
it's the
couldn't
sort of
find it.
thing. Yeah, I think actually the term is just sumptuary law.
Okay.
But sartorial just means your clothing.
Yeah.
So. It's the sort of thing that exists in very classist societies,
Yeah.
especially with like really ossified upper class like occupations and stuff.
Okay.
So I think like in Imperial Rome, that Murex purple was reserved for like emperors and senators and shit.
I also learned today that ultramarine, which is made from oh shit, I can't remember. But anyway, it was basically reserved for painting the Virgin Mary's blue robe.
Oh,
during the
okay.
Renaissance.
That distinctive color. Yeah, yeah. Then I think that there were some.
Oh, it's made of lapis lazuli.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Precious stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can get it now pretty easily because now they have synthetic lapis lazuli.
Oh.
But back then it was natural, so they had to mine it and crush it up literally
Right. I
into
was
dust.
just gonna say they just have a bunch of kids with little like grinders.
That's a
that are just
horrible-
cranking away. Yeah.
That's a horrible job.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, I
digging
mean,
up these rocks for some asshole's underwear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was actually a video that I saw today from I think it was from Business Insider, which is actually one of my favorite publications to read. Like, they're one of the more interesting ones, I think. But anyway, yeah, they were talking about oil paints, and it was like these people from the oil paints company, like they were trying to say like, oh, how cool is this?
Right.
But they were like, yeah, they were talking about Tyrian purple, and they were like, yeah, they had these snails, and they'd have to crush like 60,000 of them to
Right.
get 2 grams of pigment, and it's like, that's awful. Why would you do that?
It's not cool.
Like, some of this stuff just seems like really terrible.
Just
like,
awful.
there was also a famous pigment called mummy brown, which was literally made of ground up mummies from Egypt. Which
Yeah,
That's-
there was a lot
that
of
was
crazy shit.
one of the most horrible things I've ever heard.
What the fuck? We could have solved like the questions of immortality if
Yeah.
we just kept these mummies around, and they turned it into colors.
Yeah.
That's why older art's worth so much, right? Because it's got like dead mummies and rocks that
Right,
little kids
right.
died picking
Right.
it out of. Not
Like,
'cause
oh,
it
this
looks
painting
good,
has
'cause
like
it
3.5
doesn't.
pounds of ground up human flesh in it.
Honestly, dude,
There
I
you
hope
go.
it works like Imhotep and the Mummy, where like, he can materialize from dust.
Right.
So
So
like,
he's just like,
the mummies come out of the pigment, and then like,
Oh my God.
kill all the rich people, like trying to demand some ancient coin that
Say
the rich
no
people
more,
have.
Ryan. Say
Right.
no more. I'm talking to a movie producer tomorrow about this.
Right?
We got
Hell yeah, dude.
ideas.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Put together there with a little bit of horror movies and pirate movies. Yeah, it's kind of like an Oscar Wilde. It's kind of something going against that grain in like punk culture, where they weren't like dressing like in high society, but they were dressing in like the lowest low society with like spikes. And in the 70s, I don't want to get into what they were wearing and stuff, but like. Yeah, it's so pirates are kind of punk rock like that. I would give them that, maybe. And then
Yeah.
punk rock is
Yeah, they like
anarchistic
went
if
against
you're
the
a lifestylist.
conventions.
Right, yeah.
Like I'll wear
Yeah.
the nice shit because it's illegal, but I'll also like dress like trash at the same time.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't pay for the nice shit necessarily.
Right, you're like,
Sometimes
nah, I
you
just
steal that.
Found it.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm
well, I
shit
mean,
that
I
I
found it
stole.
on
Exactly.
the ship that I stole and I killed all the assholes that were on it.
Make some foppish merchantman captain like strip down to his bare butt, wear his
Hey,
clothes
just
in front of him, and prance
love that
around, making fun of him. That'd be
I
fun
love
as hell.
that guy.
I would love doing
I
that.
left that guy on an island and I got his clothes now. I can't afford.
Strut around with this cane.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was some early Marxism, maybe.
I was gonna say though, we kind of have sumptuary law sort of things now, except it's just enforced through luxury brands, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
People
Yeah.
just know that they're upper class, and they just cost so much money. And
Yeah.
and the reason that you can't wear something that looks like it is because the
branded.
design is trademarked,
Yep.
and so if you wear a knockoff, it's illegal.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're not necessarily
Things haven't changed.
arresting you if you're wearing it.
They'll just arrest the producers
bootleg.
probably if
Right.
they can.
But
Right.
if
Yeah.
you're right, the people that make it and the people that sell it
Yeah.
are gonna get in trouble. But
Right.
Right.
unless
Because
it
it all
comes
has
from China.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to do with the whole private property thing. I almost said pirate property, which it should be. But yeah.
Arr.
So we're off track.
Okay, so
We're in back-
pirates Pirates did not really create anything. Part of the whole like not working thing. So they weren't like creative people really. Sometimes they forced musicians to join their crew and often like mistreated them pretty badly. Like they would ask them to play and then the musician would be like, "Sir, I'm tired," and they'd be like, "Fuck you," and kick him or something like that.
That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, but I don't know.
That's such a shitty move.
They were Europeans, so
Yeah,
probably
it's-
deserved
they're
it.
People. Yeah.
I'm not necessarily for that, but
Yeah.
it would be kind of cool to have a guy out on the boat with me now with an
Right.
accordion, like playing a little jig for us and stuff. But we got Bluetooth speakers, so
Right.
I will only listen to someone playing accordion if they have a monkey with a hat on.
All right. I mean, I live in Louisiana. The accordion is a regional thing for us.
Oh, okay.
It's not hard to just like run into town real quick and like, hey, go to the bar and like you play accordion, bop, and drag him onto the boat. And he wakes up and he's in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and you're like, play, and you have like a knife at him, and he's like, okay.
The only person I've ever seen playing accordion was the vice principal of my high school, who would bring her accordion into lunch and play it. Just like walking around the lunchroom playing accordion. It was very strange.
That is
Come down.
odd.
Come down to my part of the country, and I will blow your mind. Man.
And what exactly is your address again?
No, don't dox me, bro. That's
Yeah,
not
right.
cool. That were your friends. Yeah,
So
according to
for
Major,
pirates,
it's no
one of
big
their
deal.
one of their major forms of entertainment actually was holding mock trials to make fun of the government,
nice.
basically.
That's cool.
So they have this excerpt. I have this excerpt here from Life Under the Jolly Roger. After the Attorney General, quote, presents judge and jury, quote, a sad dog, who, not having the fear of hanging before his eyes, went on robbing and ravishing man, woman, and child, plundering ship's cargoes fore and aft, burning and sinking ship, bark and boat, as if the devil had been in him. The judge turns to the prisoner. "Hearke me, sirrah, you lousy, pitiful, ill-looking dog. What have you done to say... what have you to say why you should not be tucked up immediately and set a sun drying like a scarecrow? Are you guilty or not guilty?" The prisoner pleads not guilty, upon which the judge replies, "Say so again, sirrah, and I'll have you hanged without any trial." Attempts by the prisoner to speak in his defense are rejected by the judge, very much to the delight of the Attorney General, who reckons, "Right, my lord, for if the fellow should be suffered to speak, he may clear himself, and that's an affront to the court." The end of the trial is worth quoting at length. So, you want to be the prisoner?
I'll be the prisoner.
Okay.
All right. Pray, my lord, I hope your lordship will consider...
Consider? How dare you talk of considering? Sirrah, I never considered in all my life. I'll make it treason to consider.
But I hope your lordship will hear some reason.
Do you hear how, the scoundrel pirates? What have we done? What have we to do with reason? I'd have you know, rascal, we don't sit here to reason. We go according to law. Is our dinner ready? Yes, my lord. Then hearke, you rascal at the bar. Hear me, sirrah, hear me. You must suffer for 3 reasons. First, because it is not fit I should sit here as judge and nobody be hanged. Secondly, you must be hanged because you have a damned hanging look. And thirdly, you must be hanged because I am hungry. For now, sirrah, that 'tis a custom that whenever the judge's dinner is ready before the trial is over, the prisoner is to be hanged, of course. There's law for you, ye dog. So take him away, Gowler. Yeah.
Nice.
That shit is funny.
Fuck judges.
Anarchists should do that. It sounds like a fun thing to do.
Very, very subversive, yes. Good.
Are you in your car, Soyboi?
I am. I'm about to start it.
Okay.
I'm out at a dock right now doing
shit.
sailor
Pirate stuff.
Pirate stuff. I had to roll the windows up because I'm getting attacked by mosquitoes. I'm sorry.
How much booty did you get today? Exactly.
Well, not nearly enough, but I worked 3 hours and I charged them for 8. So
Nice.
Hell yeah.
about
do it.
5
That's my
hours
go-to.
of booty there. About 5 hours of booty there, mate. That was kind of like an
Australian pirate, yeah.
yeah. Pirate mix.
Right.
Sorry about that
I mean,
one.
Aussies are just land pirates.
Yeah.
Vegans on killing mosquitoes.
I think killing mosquitoes is still vegan. That's the one exception they'll make.
praxis.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's harm reduction,
Well-
basically, so...
I'm just it's community defense work.
Exactly. Let's see. So let's get into the political economy part. So we're trying to figure out if pirates are problematic, if they're canceled. So unfortunately, because of pirates' proclivity for alcohol, their massive spending ended up indirectly supporting the slave system at the base of the colonial era alcohol production. And let's see. They were also pretty heavily involved in the slave trade. They were like middlemen in trading Indian and African slaves. Supposedly, they treated the slaves even worse than galley slaves or plantation slaves, even maybe. But there are conflicting accounts that slaves would rather take their chances on a pirate ship than in certain enslavement or death as an actual slave. And they were also pretty heavily Christian, so I have to cancel them for that alone.
Right.
The Jolly Roger actually uses a lot of Christian imagery, because there were a lot of different Jolly Rogers, so a lot of them use Christian images. They use the death's head, which is kind of like a Christian fascist thing.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Oh, and one thing about the Jolly Roger is they flew it right when they were about to attack a vessel, hoping to force them to just give up without a fight.
Right, like freak out and
give
up. Yeah,
because the pirates would almost definitely win the fight.
Yeah,
but they would prefer not to get into the fight if they could avoid it.
Yeah.
So
anti-work.
Yeah. And people would recognize the Jolly Roger and be like, "Oh shit, okay." Yep. They would fire a warning shot across the bow, and they would be flying the black Jolly Roger for that. And if they were actually going to attack, they would switch it to a red Jolly Roger.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's conflicting against what I know.
Oh, okay.
What I knew, the Jolly Roger comes from, it's in French, so I'm not going to say it. But it's like
it's like Julie Rouge,
which
yeah.
means the red flag. And you fly the red flag, and that means you're coming in and you will take prisoners, which means you'll be gang pressed into the pirate crew. And if you fly the black flag, you're dead. It's all gone.
Oh, okay.
Game over.
Interesting.
And if the pirates...
So it's red-pilled and black-pilled?
Outgunned. Right. And if they were outgunned, they would try to fly whatever flag that it would be like a fleet. Like it would be like some Spanish galleons with like some freighters or whatever that are like full of gold or slaves or whatever their assholes are doing. And they would like hoist up a Spanish flag real quick and try to pretend like they were just like a Spanish boat out there like doing whatever they're doing. But yeah, there was multiple flags, and the flags are cool if you ever want to like look them up. But yeah, they have a bunch of like different connotations that were like Christian or whatever. And the Skull and Crossbones, I just watched this Netflix special about a link to the Knights Templars and the pirates, and specifically that British guy that's like super famous that was a privateer.
Indiana Jones.
That guy, yes, Indiana Jones. And he was hiding out in Madagascar, and they're doing some archaeological digs because, Indiana Jones and stuff out there. And they're finding all kinds of Templar treasures that they had over there. And it was like it was a weird piracy that I'm not like really familiar with. And it was later on after the Golden Age. They all like kind of ran over to Madagascar and were working the East India trade system, which was mostly like British, which is interesting because that guy was British.
And did they meet any talking animals in Madagascar?
Many. The island's actually called Pirate Island. It's like an island in Madagascar, and like. So it was like a really good spot to hide out. And then they kind of like sail up. I think it was on the west side in the middle, and they'd sail up to
Was it like in a bay or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
In that bay, they would keep the boats. and some of them sank, or they sank them, and they're finding all kinds of like weird stuff that they were taken from everybody, which is awesome. But yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. I didn't have enough time to look it up. I want to look up. It's a meh. I mean, Knights Templar, man, some conspiracy theory shit, really.
Say,
but
what don't those guys do?
right. But it is interesting because that guy, I can't remember his damn name. There's a big book I read about him. It was really interesting. He's like one of the main British pirateers. How can I not remember his name? But I can't.
Well, he's dead now.
Idea that he was probably a
We can call him whatever we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit
Old John son of a bitch.
No, he's like really, he's one of the famous ones, and I didn't look it up. I should have looked it up. But
right.
yeah, probably a Mason.
Our noble listeners will probably discover it for themselves.
Hopefully, please correct me and shit talk me on Twitter. But there's a good chance that he was a Mason, Masons, Templars, maybe weak links, weird conspiracy theories. I like that stuff. I don't necessarily believe it, but I like to watch from the stands and see how crazy people are.
Yeah,
and it kind of added up. If you believe that Mason Templar link.
Which one is this?
Okay.
It was like he got a privateer commission from the king, and he was out there. He ended up pirating some English boats because they weren't making any money to begin with, and he was supposed to be like fighting the Spaniards, and then he like really went in full on and got like a bunch of Spaniard ships, but and he brought gold back to the queen and did what he was supposed to do as a privateer. Right. They got him on like, you don't really know if you're a pirate or a privateer. And you're like filthy, and he was rich to begin with, which is usually how that stuff goes, which makes me believe that he's a Mason, because that's how that stuff goes. Yeah. Anyways, there you go.
So the last thing I have in the political economy section is according to our Ask Historians, which like it's just a subreddit, but they usually have like actual historians on there that know what they're talking about. Wages were typically 80 to 500 times higher for captains than ordinary crewmen on a private ship, like a merchant vessel, whereas pirate captains would get just 2 times what the ordinary crewman got. Nice. A lot of replies in the thread suggested that the only reason that was the case was it wasn't like it was ideological. It was just because the captain couldn't enforce greater inequality. But like, that's kind of the point. Is like, if you don't have a state enforcing inequality, then it can't grow that large. Exactly. So
also they switch captains a lot depending on
that's true.
How good you are. How because you could be on a pirate ship and do a couple of raids, and then you run into the wrong thing, and then you're done. But if you're around long enough, you're going to sail from like the Carolinas, and then you get down to like Jamaica, and you need a new captain, and you got like a saltier dog that's been down there that knows the waters better. So you switch, and like how do you go from an 80% profit over your guys when but also you also have 79 people that will kill you.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So like that's probably the main catalyst there, which is also a good praxis for your boss at work.
Yeah, for the switching captains lot thing, I read several accounts where they would change captains because the captain was like too Christian or not Christian enough for the crew, or they would they would want to attack or not attack Christian vessels. So like some of them wanted to like only attack like Spanish vessels because they were Catholic. They weren't
real
like
Christians.
Protestant. Yes, exactly. Right. And then some were like, just attack the English ones. Who gives a shit? Like, fuck those guys. So yeah, there's like a bunch of times where the captain would step down because he would make the wrong choice for what his crew wanted, and they'd be like, well, time for you to go.
Right. Yeah.
That's,
So go ahead, Subway.
I got nothing. I was just like, man, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
It should. I wish that was practice on the sea, like just regular, because there's a bunch of captains that
I wish
could have
that
fired.
was just the case in all economic endeavors.
Occupations. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd feel a lot better about going to work if, like, me and the team were voting from our own number.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, like, so-and-so is going to run this for, like, the length of the project or until we lose confidence in them. And then, fuck it. It's not like we're, you know, making, like, extortion amounts of money.
Right.
We're just, you know, living our lives making that bread.
Hey, we got a really heavy
Stacking
JavaScript.
racks.
Stacking
We got a really heavy JavaScript program coming up. This guy's in charge because he's our
Right.
JavaScript guy.
Right, exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's not that good at JavaScript. I've seen his code.
Yeah, he's not, and he's also not that Christian because he's a Catholic.
Dude's sitting on Quora all day.
Must be a libertarian.
Jesus, right?
I forget what I tried to look something up earlier, and one of the search results was from Quora. When I clicked on it, it was just like people like derailing the
Yeah.
answers to like complain about immigrants. It's like, wow, this place
God.
fucking sucks, man.
Yeah. Quora is just like full of
Yahoo
people with
answers
their, like,
for people who are really like windbags.
Yeah, yep. And they're like, well, you see, and you're like, oh, no, God.
Communism has failed everywhere it's been tried.
Right,
Let me
right. Just
let me
all
give
this-
you 800 words on that.
Fucking
When you want-
standard.
Right-wing
Garbage.
mansplaining.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
That's the site.
So we have this connection to mercantilism.
Yeah. So during this period in which like privateering and these types of pirates were dominant, the kind of prevailing economic system for the European colonial imperial powers is known as mercantilism, in which they really encouraged like exports and were kind of obsessed with like physical commodities and trade. Let's see, it was kind of a period of proto-industrialization and just like obsessed
They're
with
really obsessed with
balance
trade
of
balances,
trade.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Balance of trade, very like nationalistic economics.
Yeah, they wanted to export way more than they import because they saw that as having sovereignty.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it was this kind of bizarre like physicalist stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing is,
physiocratic, I guess.
the other thing that makes it very different from capitalism is they're obsessed with, like, stock.
Yep,
like
exactly,
having stocks
exactly.
of resources and
stuff.
bullion
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas capitalism is all about having flows of income.
Yep, exactly. So it's like they went from, if we talk about mercantilism moving into forms of capitalism, I mean, mercantilism was kind of early capitalism.
Yeah.
But that changeover was changing private property from kind of like a stock or a reserve or an inventory.
Yep.
Right? And owning and controlling how you could trade that, how you could export that and get the sales and get the cash from those sales and things like that. And now, as you mentioned, it's all about owning and controlling the flows of income where the notion of private property has changed from essentially holding things, keeping them in some place or controlling that physical stock again, into
Accumulating.
accumulating, and particularly private property is now abstracted.
Yes.
Right. So you can, well, this is, I think, why, like, ANCAPs and shit, quote-unquote, fucking libertarian shitlords, think that you can be an anarcho-capitalist because, it's all abstract. You can just own random shit and just sell it and make that money, and they really believe in this, like, they're buying completely into this evolution of
But they also have that
property.
weird obsession with gold as being like real money,
which is
as
hilarious.
opposed to state fiat money, which gold
Right.
never is, of course.
Yeah, and that actually brings us back to this period in mercantilism, where they were obsessed particularly with bullion, which is essentially like
cubes that you drop into hot water to make soup.
Yes,
Delicious
and so the more
cubes.
soup cubes you owned, the more powerful your state was.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
My soup
yeah.
is better than yours.
Right, exactly, right. My soup is thicker than yours. Yeah.
That's actually why they call it a superpower.
Yes,
Because you're a state with a lot of soup.
right.
The good states have basic. Oh, I just forgot. That was to yeah.
Yeah. So
Universal
basically,
basic soup. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh yeah. So bullionism really is. I'll just read off the Wikipedia because it's a pretty good, concise way. Bullionism is an economic theory that defines wealth by the amount of precious metals owned, and of course, precious metals are kind of also weirdly arbitrary. Silver, gold. So it's a form of mercantilism, or like a subgenre of mercantilism, and
Subreddit of mercantilism.
subreddit of mercantilism. yeah. And so they would try to get like gold and or silver ingots, or of course coins. And in this case, it didn't really matter whose it was. If you had it, the theory was that you then had that as wealth, and that wealth belonged to your state. Again, they were obsessed with inventory and stock, physical stock. So if they were like, if we can have a physical stock of literally anybody's precious metal coins, then that's our money, now that's our wealth, and that makes us more powerful as a state. So from our perspective, of course, what it really means is that you use that to mobilize labor, right?
Yep.
The metal itself is symbolic to some extent, or to a large extent. But
Yeah, you don't pay those bastards anyway.
Ideological power. Yeah, right.
They
But
would.
in
Yeah,
this
they
case, it
would.
has enough. Yeah, go ahead.
Those ingots or doubloons, they're like stamped with the state seal.
Right.
They still do that today.
Mm-hmm.
But you can just melt that down and put your own seal on it, and now it's your money.
Exactly.
And
So it's fungible.
Right, but it's only fungible to wherever you are,
Right.
what that is worth at the time.
Right.
And that still goes to today. It's like good to
Yeah.
invest in gold, but at the same
Yeah.
time, if everything fails, no one's going to have anything to give you for gold. So if you're trading it for chickens or whatever, that's cool. But like really, if we're in that situation, I don't really want your gold. I need my chickens. Get the fuck off my property.
Right.
So here's
Or
the thing I
whatever,
never
you
thought
know?
about with that though is like if someone like takes a bunch of gold bullion and like melts it down and then restamps it with their own state seal, like you get the full like amount of seniorage on that bullion. So like exchange rates wouldn't have been a thing that like really made sense there. Like if we
Right.
thought about it in today's terms, we'd be like, oh, like it's this amount of gold in dollars. So you use the exchange rate on that, and then it's like this amount in euros or whatever. But like really, it's just like however much gold would be in euros. That's what it becomes worth.
Yeah. So as I understand it, because I'm not a like money historian.
Numismatics guy,
Right. Exactly.
numismatician. I think that's the term.
Yes, exactly.
the most
I'm not
nerdy sounding thing.
One of those, right? Just like we were talking about earlier, like with like stigmergics and rhizomes.
Yeah.
Like just use the words that make sense to people.
A money guy.
I'm not a money historian. I'm not a money scientist. But there's a lot of, I think, sub-rational kind of stuff going on with money in any system, right? There's a lot of weird ideological shit going on. So you can count it, and you can make it, and you can destroy it, and all this shit. But ultimately, it comes down to, again and again and again, power and belief.
Yep.
Right. And then to some extent, your ability to marshal stock.
Yes.
Of whatever form it might take, right? So, as I understand it, at this time, and I'm about to get into kind of like the liberal market theory of this stuff, but a lot of the monies that were in circulation, there was a kind of a confusing exchange rate. Like you were trading money as a commodity often.
Yeah, they
right?
they literally had money changers. That
Yes, exactly, right.
They had like piles of different currency that they could change you for if you were traveling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so at the time it was more somewhat more difficult than now, I think. Nowadays, we have this neoliberal kind of world economic kind of currency exchange system where things are pegged to the dollar, and the dollar is this kind of supreme currency because, well, we can literally fucking destroy every country on Earth if we really feel like it.
And Bretton Woods, etc.
And Bretton Woods, right, exactly.
So, used to be backed by gold, now backed by smart bombs.
Basically, yeah.
That's where everything went wrong, man. We just need to go back to the gold thing, and everything will be good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's some Gaddafi stuff. They'll kill you for that.
Who? Anyway,
yeah.
Right. So, what was interesting is that at this time, getting back to sort of bullionism, metallism, mercantilism, the colonial imperial projects of these European states were obsessed with extracting precious metals from the colonies. And so you hear all these horror stories about like the silver mines in South America and other examples. So then you had these shipments going from there through various ports back to Europe, Spain, England, France, etc. The pirates and the privateers made a living off of capturing many of the ships that were carrying this bullion, among other treasures and slaves and so forth. But sticking to the bullion thing, you think about the sort of prevailing theory of like supply and demand that's been kind of around more or less since like the 1700s. And it was kind of a rationalization of some of this like state and market inventory of commodities and goods, right?
Okay.
But ever since then, the muddy commodity has also been subject to this idea. So even though it's a fallacious idea in most cases, they still follow that logic.
Yeah.
Right? So they are competing with each other. So like Spain is competing with France and England and like the
Dutch
Netherlands.
Guys.
Yes, exactly.
Don't forget those guys.
Yeah, right. Never forget those guys. They will fuck you up. They're tall and blonde and weirdly austere, and then suddenly they're
riding bikes all the time.
Yeah, right. Oh, excuse me, I'm innocent, totally innocent. I will fuck up your farmers. But they're all competing with each other, as bourgeoisie do, for acquisition of these stocks of precious metals, right? But then that means everyone's going free for all to get precious metals from these other colonies and stuff. Which means that the supply to the Europeans is rapidly expanding at all times.
Okay.
Which means that if they've got, like, let's say you're England. You've got 1,000 silver ingots, right? Let's just hypothesize.
Make it easy.
Right. And then, at your starting point, Spain has 1,200. So you're like, I just need 200, right? And we'll be even. So you go... And while you're making 200, Spain is like, fuck these natives. I'm making 5,000 this year. And you're like freaking out because suddenly your silver is cheaper.
Yeah.
They have more. Right. So then you're like, fuck, what do I do? You're like, well, I can brutalize my natives, right?
Yeah.
And other people that I've pressed into service in the colonies and exploited and whatever.
But they don't have any silver.
Exactly. And I can also then use dudes with letters of marque and potentially trade with pirates to acquire the silver from the Spanish, right? Okay. Then you get back that market power under the logic of your weird liberal bullshit, right? So that's kind of what was going on there, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What if these anarchist pirates are like, hey, man, no ethical consumption under bullion is... Sorry, bro.
yeah, basically. Right, they're
it's
like, I'm going to spend
regardless.
3,000 to 4,000 of these tonight because fuck it, Yeah.
And then they're out to sea for so long trying to find it. They get so randy on the boat.
Yeah, right.
The buggery's fun, but they got to go back to the beach eventually. and instead of doing the mutual aid with it that they planned on, they just got really shit-faced by accident.
Right.
I mean, it happens, hop a train a couple of days and see what happens when you get off of it, like anarchism, man. It's wild.
Yeah.
So that's all I have in our notes. Did you want to talk about modern piracy?
Yeah, I'm down for a little bit of that. I don't know how much of it that y'all know about. So, pretty common Somalia pirates. Everybody kind of knows about that. We have a lot of military out in the Indian Ocean trying to subvert that. And necessarily it's similar, but not quite to like this golden age of piracy and buccaneers and everything. If you take this boat, what's on it's yours, the boat's yours, and the crew, they'll ransom the crew off. Sometimes they'll just pirate the boat to ransom the crew to make the money. Sometimes they'll pirate the boat, kill the crew, or take them back to Somalia and ransom them and take the ship, sell the goods that's on it if it's possible to sell the goods. But mostly what they do is they sell the ship to India and break them, which is breaking a ship is basically just putting a blowtorch to it and you scrap it down for its bare like elements and everything.
Oh, okay.
Right? All right. So the way that they do this in these Indian shipbreaking areas, which I'm not sure the legalese in India and how they do this and stuff. There's a lot of major labor issues with it, which
labor issues in India.
Right.
Are you sure?
Right.
Unheard of.
Really?
So I sent Ryan a link. I'll fish a little bit more when we're done to send them on it. But basically what they do is they pull the ship up to a beach as far as they can. Basically, they beach the vessel. They drop the anchor. They take something like a Toyota truck with the anchor and pull it as far up as they can. And then you use the winch for the anchor to pull the ship further up onto the beach.
Oh, that's cool.
The ship's up on the beach. They start making like wooden scaffolding, and hundreds of people just go over this thing, like ripping it apart. Some of the guys have like blowtorches, like just taking the whole apart to steel. They'll sell the steel to like recycle it into something else. And meanwhile, these people, when you burn metal, you usually want to have like a face shield on to keep the bright light out of your face, and you can kind of see where you're cutting. They don't have, and they don't have any like protection against the flames and the sparks. And that's kind of bad in itself. The fumes.
I think if you wave your hand in front of your face shutter style, then it's okay to look at burning metal.
Yeah,
I do that
fun.
to the sun all the time.
Yeah, I love looking at the sun. They don't necessarily like. They might drain the fuel out of it, and it is like the diesel or whatever, and sell the diesel or use the diesel for themselves to break the ship with. And the oil possibly. God knows whatever else is in there. There's like glycerin from the radiators for the engines and stuff is dump. And their houses are made out of parts of the ship or boxes and stuff that they get from the ship. They live like right off the beach there. Crazy. It is really interesting. I'm like disgusting, but interesting to me because I know the size of these ships. The size of these ships are just.
I've never seen one in person, so I have no idea how big they are.
If you've ever seen like a container ship, it's huge. It's fucking massive. They got.
I've seen a shipping container, and some of those things have like what was it, 100,000 containers on there or something like that.
Yeah. No, that's more than that. They probably like 1,000 or maybe 1,000, not 100,000. That's a lot. But there's a lot, man. They stack them like 4 high, and they'll have like 50 of them going back, and then there's some underneath the hull. And those boats only have like a crew of 15. So if you get like a bunch of little boats and a bunch of Somali guys and a couple AK-47s, you can handle it. And those boats aren't necessarily armed. So it's a
Need
pretty
to convince
easy,
the Ayatollah to start sponsoring piracy.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy kind. It's kind of a you look at it, it's pretty easy.
Sir, if you pay
Thing
us,
for-
we will be happy to do some pirating for the great Islamic Republic of Iran.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
there's also some piracy on the East Coast. It's not necessarily like shipborne, but sometimes it is, and they'll try to raid the oil rigs off of Nigeria. So
West Coast, you mean?
no, wait, no.
Nigeria is the West
East
Coast.
Is it the West Coast? Oh God.
Nigeria's west, Somalia's east. Sorry. Your
Oh
globe
yeah,
might
you
be
know what?
backwards.
No, my compass is backwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the West
the same
Coast, they're over in
problem.
Somali. They're taking ships on the east, on the West Coast. They're in Nigeria, and they've raided oil platforms, right? So the oil platforms out there now have gun nests on.
Oh, wow.
This I know because I've had fellow workers take jobs out there.
Yeah.
And I had one guy, he was a veteran, and he was on a rig that had boats come up that they actually shot back at.
Whoa.
And the security guy
Uh-huh.
didn't know how to set the M60 up and shoot it. So the guy kind of pushed him out of the way. And this could be complete fucking sailor's tale or whatever.
Right.
And set it all up and started fucking going gung-ho at him. He didn't. He said after it started shooting, the guy took over or whatever. But I was just like, holy fuck, there's gun nests on the thing to prevent this. This is insane. Another thing that they do is they'll drill into the pipeline that's like a live pipeline, oil flowing through it, which is not really a good idea because when you drill through metal, it makes the metal hot and you have a
Right.
petrochemical.
I was just thinking that.
Bingo.
Yeah.
But so they'll do
Man,
that.
you just
or
need
they'll
some
go to-
drilling fluid.
Right. Yeah, you're fine. Well, really, that's how you do it. But if or a valve you can open and get the oil out of, and they'll basically fill I'm from Louisiana, so it's really easy for me to describe. But for y'all Yankee types, it's a little bit more complicated. But like a 18 or 20-foot boat, it's made out of aluminum. They'll have buckets in there to fill, and they'll fill the boat up with the raw crude. Take it down into a river, into a hiding spot that they have that has like a still, and boil the crude. If you boil crude, you can make diesel.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
A lot like how you make liquor. Similar.
Oh, yeah.
Stilling process. And they'll boil it off right there and make diesel fuel that they'll go back into town and sell to people.
Moon
At a
diesel.
significantly, right, way lower rate than what you would buy in the store, which is completely unaffordable to those people. But the cool thing is they're pirating oil from like Shell and Exxon. The not so cool thing is when you look at that water, it's covered in a sheen, and when you go down that river, there's black smoke rolling up from all these like pirate stills that are making this diesel fuel. And so like when you make products like that, like when you do it in a refinery, the leftovers you use for other things like plastics and oils or whatever. There's more you can get out of that leftover because you make a sludge after you get the diesel out of it. Then after you get the diesel out of it, you can turn the diesel into gasoline. And it's like another process. And there's more stuff you can get off of that. But it's kind of neat that they kind of came up with the system to do that and everything. But that would consist of modern day piracy, I believe. They're stealing from a state agency, which would be Shell or Exxon, or they could possibly be their own state at this point. And it requires some boats, so I think that some piratey R type stuff. The Somali stuff is kind of a little bit worse, though. They're actually like kind of killing. I think the things on the rigs that kind of freaks them out. I've never really heard of any of them like getting on a rig, but I think that might have happened, which is why they have guns on them. They wouldn't just put guns on there because that costs money. Because now you have to have a security team. They don't do anything that costs money unless it's like something happened before. You know what I'm saying? And then there's another thing. Napster? No, it doesn't exist anymore.
Soulseek.
This is modern day piracy. But yeah, most of it's still like it kind of went and died in Africa, and it's still like thriving in Africa, and have like there's crazy military out there fighting, and there's stupid Tom Hanks about it. It really is kind of horrible though, and it's all due really to capitalism, exploitation of one of the greatest continents, Africa. Yeah. That's modern piracy, I guess, in gist. It was I should have studied more before this, but that's basically it. The ship breaking though is insane, and I'm gonna look up an article to put in the notes, buddy. But it's just like the labor conditions. I'm used to working in heat and using a blowtorch and welding and everything, and just the idea of doing that without like the right protective gear. Like I do it.
Probably still better than getting blackbirded onto a shrimping vessel or something, you know.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean it's way better than being gang pressed.
Yeah.
But it's really it isn't that much better, man. It's pretty much hell because you're inhaling a bunch of toxic stuff and you're getting burned all the time. Ugh. And when the people die there, they don't really like. It's just like, you know, like they're just like, there's another one. You know, like I can't conceive of the labor practice. It's so sickening. And the scaffolding that they go up on it, and just like it's crazy, and those boats are so massive, and the camps are so large. It's got to be obvious, but the state just kind of lets it happen because it's a source of income. And they take that steel that's stolen and it goes into the state apparatus where it turns into like I-beams for buildings, all kinds of crazy stuff once it's sold off. You know what I mean? So it's helping that state's economy.
But
it's not sanctioned like privateerism.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, where did that boat come from? And they'll just, you know, I don't know if they have to switch the names and flags and stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
I want to put a mast on my car so I can have a bunch of different flags and switch them out and doing different stuff. That'd be fun.
That Nicolas Cage movie, Lord of War, has a scene in it where he's on like a container ship and he's smuggling weapons.
Oh, yeah.
And he changes the name and changes the flag, and that's what pirates would do. So, like, maybe they're doing that. Like, once a Somalis steal a ship, I fucking guarantee that they switch that shit over.
I can't remember if it was
practice too. Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Fast and the Furious or like one of those other car action movies like Crank or something like that, or Driver. But one of them, they had cars where they would push a button and the license plate would flip.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember which one that was. But.
Yeah.
I
always thought that was cool as hell. Oh yeah.
And it would just flip the plate up so they couldn't see your plate. And it was the lawnmower. You know, your throttle on the lawnmower, the turtle and the right. So it's that. It was one of those.
Oh.
And the piston, and I put the license plate on a hinge. And you just do that, and the license plate flips up when you're being a fool and you don't want to get caught. And then you just go, and you're untouchable. Once you know they can't get anything, you just go on. Not that I'm a street pirate or anything, but I had a girlfriend.
I think we should have street piracy.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend break up with me because I had one of my motorcycles when I lived in Sicily. I painted flat black and put Jolly Rogers on the gas tank. And the skull and crossbones over there is really kind of a big deal. It signifies death. It's on all the cemeteries you go to. There's a skull and crossbones. And she broke up with me and told me that I don't love her. I love death.
Wow.
Look at your tattoos. You're in the military, and how much you drink. You don't love me. You love death. And she said it all in Sicilian, and it was beautiful.
I mean,
it
sounds like she's not wrong.
No, she was
at that point.
She's just pissed because she's Catholic and she knows what's up.
Yeah.
Damn.
She was spot on, and I'm really mad I didn't get Italian citizenship out of that one, but whatever. And it happens. I don't think it was going to work out after that debacle. situation. Everything was good until then, but that was like, she was like, "Yeah." We were going out to dinner with her family, and we were going to ride the motorcycle, and she's like, "Fuck you, I'm getting up." Okay.
Well.
Nah, game over. So be careful when you fly the Jolly Roger, and it means something. That it means
next
death.
time I fly my Jolly Roger, I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, in some cultures, it really means death, and they don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's modern piracy in a nutshell. I think 2 links, and I'll dig up one more tonight. There's a really good one about the shipbreaking, and it's just, I mean, I don't like, it's an experience burning metal in like 100 heat.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine that.
I can imagine,
Yeah.
And with like the protective gear that you're supposed to wear, it's like even worse.
Yeah.
But not wearing it, you get slag all over yourself and bright lights in your eyes, and you have spots in your eyes like all day afterwards. So it's pretty much hell either way.
Yeah, I've gotten solder on myself, and that hurts like a bitch. So I can't imagine like actual slag. Seems crazy.
I got like fire protective clothing, and it's got like burn holes all over it from like slag coming back at me, and all of that is bad shit, and it's crazy, and it's really obvious.
Metal's bad. We should just make everything out of wood. Honestly.
Yeah, minus cutting down the trees, I agree, but just plant more trees.
They grow back, yeah.
Yeah.
Metal doesn't grow back. I mean, not really.
It doesn't. And you gotta exploit somebody to get it, like really bad.
And it's one of the most destructive practices there is mining.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Fuck you, Elon Musk. Yeah. So a container ship's about 500 feet long or longer.
Oh damn. Yeah. I know how far that is from driving. That's pretty long.
It's a massive. Like I was on a 226-foot ship in the Navy, which is the smallest ship in the Navy. Carrier is bigger than a tanker to a degree, or a freighter, but
it's mostly like runway surface, right?
Yeah, they're pretty fucking huge either way. And just the idea of just like ripping one of those apart like on a beach that way is just it's not safe. And doing it, the reason why they send them to India to break them like that, one is because the state looks away from it, and two, if you take it anywhere else, you have to go through something like an EPA regulations in America. They never break ships in America anymore because it's just too expensive. And you would dry dock it, which is even more expensive, and then a whole bunch of employees that have to have all the right gear on, and you would have a welder do one thing and another guy do another thing. To where in India it's just kind of like go get them and rip it apart, and there's like one guy I guess collecting all the money off of it, feeding people a little bit. And so modern piracy, bad. Golden age of piracy, did we cancel? Was there a decision on that? Did we cancel it?
I would say they're canceled because they were pretty involved in the slave trade.
Yeah.
Did indigenous raids probably, and they were Christians.
Yeah. Right.
Bad. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cancel them. Canceled.
All right. Well, I guess
but they did have very good work practices, which was not doing it, which I approve of.
So for the time, maybe not canceled.
They were good for their time, yeah.
Right.
But they were also bad.
Lesser of evils and all
that.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the whole like
no ethical consumption
we can't analyze it by modern ethics. Like, yeah, we can. That's what they're for.
Right.
It's to look back at your past behavior and say like, was that bad? Yes, it was. We should not do that anymore.
Yeah,
exactly.
It was bad. But
they were better than everyone else, pretty much, except for the indigenous people. Well, some of the indigenous people, because some of them were also involved in slaving and all that stuff. But
yeah.
So
human history just pretty much sucks, basically.
Yeah,
we still got time. We got about 5 years to make it all better.
Yeah, we'll be anti-racist pirates this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that anti-fa pirates. No.
All right. I think that'll about do it for us.
On that note.
Yeah, right.
So if you enjoyed that, check out our other episodes at neighborsciencepodcast.com. We have episodes organized by tags, so if you're looking for a particular topic, you can look at the tags. I usually try to put like 4 or 5 on each episode. We just did a 2-part episode with John Valdez about like kind of our whole class analysis distilled into one narrative, more or less. So if you've never heard the show before and this is your first episode, I would recommend going to that one because it'll help you understand a lot of the other stuff that we talk about. Mm-hmm. We also have another episode with Soyboi. It was very fun. He got very drunk, which it was.
I'm really sorry.
Oh no,
it added color.
It worked out.
And
it was
flavor.
great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was like 407 or something like that. But
what do you do with a drunken sailor? You need him. You need him.
Yeah.
Or he just blacks out.
Yeah.
Yes.
We talked about Gargantua of the Verdurous Planet and Blue Submarine number 6. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was called. I think the title had something to do with horny sharks.
Something.
It was
Yeah.
horny sharks, something or other. That will find it. But we talked about China's mineral extraction.
Yes, that's right.
The deep trenches.
Yeah,
of
deep
the
sea mining in China. Yeah.
In the South China Sea.
So check that one out. Our Twitter account is at NeighborSciPod. I'm at Handle of Rye. Chris is at Solidarity_Goth. Soyboi is half astronaut. Just look in the description. Half astronaut. Half-assed astronaut. It's the worst handle. I don't know why I picked it. It is funny though. It is funny.
It's a son of a bitch.
Yeah, just look in the description. It'll be in there. And check out the show notes and look at that graph from that Pyrational book. It's so fucking dumb.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's like a bad D&D piracy thing. Roll some dice, guy.
Is there anything you want to plug, Soyboi?
Hey, happy 7th birthday to Rajavo, BG Rajavo.
Yeah.
And
BG.
that's that's really all I got. If you actually enjoyed this, and enjoyed my half of it, and love to Puerto Rico and Hawaii right now, and all the islands that are giving it to them.
Hell yeah.
That's what I got, man. Love to Rajavo, and hopefully, that's all I got. Bishi.
All right.
All right, everyone. We love you.
We love you. Bye.
Yeah, love everybody. Love and solidarity.